Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I've got here next to me 2 stacks of books with all of the books that I read in 2024. And unlike a lot of people here on YouTube, I don't read 50, 100, 500 books a year. I'm lucky if I get to 2 books per month. So I read this past year 19 books. We're gonna be talking about them today. I'm gonna try to go a little bit fast and not get too in-depth into each book because we would never finish. So anyway, before we get into the list and what I read in 2024, please be sure to subscribe. It is super easy. It does help my channel a lot. And thank you so much if you've already subscribed. I'm going to try for this year, make it a priority to write down in the description box whatever makeup products I'm wearing in the videos, because then I get questions and looking back at the videos, I don't even remember what I was wearing. So this particular makeup is my unrecognizable makeup look that I uploaded before this one. So it's just a video before this one, so you can definitely go check that out after you watch my books of 2024. So we're gonna begin. I think I'm gonna go by order in when I read them. The very first book I don't have physical because I only got it on my Kindle. So I bought the Kindle version, not the physical. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I did because I didn't really care much for this book. And that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I don't know how to pronounce this name. So this is basically it's a cute story, but I just felt it to be slow and just not too memorable. So it's about a coffee shop where you can go in and you ask for a specific, I think it's a specific cup of coffee, and you sit in a specific seat in the restaurant, and then you can go back in time. It's basically a compilation of 4 or 5 different stories and what happens whenever these particular people that are, I think most of them are like regulars at this coffee shop, what they do with, you know, their time going back in time. So it was, I mean, I thought it was gonna be better, honestly. I was anticipating much more because I feel like it was very hyped on social media. It was just not quite there for me. It wasn't bad, but especially for, I read that as the first book in January of 2024, it kind of gave me a bit of a slow reading month or slow reading year. But it wasn't bad. I think I rated that I rated it 3 stars. Not bad, it's just not for me, basically. Okay, so then the second book that I read was also, that's Before the Coffee Gets Cold, was part of my book club pick with my friend that we have a book club. I think I've talked about her before here. And then for January, I was able to squeeze in a second book, and I'm so happy I did because it turned out to be one of my favorites of the year, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which I don't have the physical copy. It's also just in my Kindle. I do want to buy it at some point because it's one of those trophy books. I really, really did enjoy it. Depending on where you are in life, if you're maybe not going through a very good patch, it might be a little on the sad side. I don't know if I should talk much about it. I guess I can't say what it's about, basically. I don't have what it says in the back, but it's about a girl who decides she does not want to live anymore. So I don't know if this says it in the back of the book because I don't want to say it. So something happens and she gets stuck in this kind of like limbo place, which is a library. And pretty much every book that's in this library, it's an alternate, I guess, situation that could have happened to her if she had picked if she had made a different decision in her life. Of the thousands and thousands of scenarios that we live in our lives, like just kind of like the butterfly effect. So it was very interesting. And I really, really loved it. In February, I just read 1 book, but what a book I read. I really love this book. I think I gave this 4.5 stars, and that was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I love her. By the way, I've read at this point 4 of her books. This year, I want to make it a point to read whichever ones I'm missing. So One True Loves is literally a heartbreaking story. So it begins with a couple that are very happy, married and in love. I think they've just recently gotten married, but they were high school sweethearts, so they always been together. And then something terrible happens that the husband pretty much dies in a plane crash. So she is absolutely, the wife, absolutely devastated. And I think they live in like a big city, maybe somewhere in California, if I'm not mistaken. Probably so. I think they live somewhere in California, I could be wrong. So after this terrible accident, obviously her life is completely uprooted and devastated. So she moves back to their hometown, and she meets another guy. I think this guy that is actually not like a new meet. It's a guy that she knew from when she was younger. So they start going out together, and eventually they get engaged. That's not saying too much because that's at the very beginning of the book, whenever she's talking about being with her fiance at a restaurant. So the heartbreak or the hard decision in this book. So of course it takes her years and years and years to try to recover from this accident that happened to her husband, and you can see the tragedy that happens and how she's feeling. It's a very emotional book. So at the very end of the book, or I don't know what part of the book, should I say this? Yes, I can say it. It's not in the book. Her ex-husband, I guess still husband, is found alive after I don't know how long, a very, very long time. He's found out alive and he survives this plane crash. So now, what's her name, Emma, is left with the decision of going back to her husband or moving forward with her newly found life with her new fiance. So it is very, very heartbreaking. I really loved it. I really love this book. I think I gave it a 4.5 or 5 stars. I remember reading, while I was reading the book, my friend and I were like, oh, do you think she should have stayed with this guy or this guy? I'm not gonna say much. And I think we both came to the opposite conclusions of this decision, because I'm married, right? So I see it as, if it was me and this was my husband, what would I do? So very, very good book. And I've never read anything like this, like something that, a scenario like this, like you really couldn't, how could you pick? But anyway, excellent book. I really loved it. I think I talked way too much with that one. Okay, so then after that, I read a not so good book. And that was First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. Again, one of those books that I'm pretty sure we picked because of social media. I think I saw it popping up a lot on TikTok. It was part of Reese's book club. It's a little confusing. It's a little too much and then nothing. So I was expecting way more, and then it just left me like, what did I just read? Not in a good way. So it's just a little all over the place, but the end is just, I don't know. Sorry about that. That's exactly how I felt when I finished. I was like, what? Like, I just don't know. I think I gave this like 3 stars. I'm very generous whenever I give 3 stars. Pretty much any book that I don't particularly like, I give 3 stars. Unless I hate it, of course, I'll give less. But yeah, I gave that 3 stars, yeah. It was just meh. I would recommend you ignore TikTok and just not get this book. But anyway, that is First Lie Wins. I didn't even say anything about the book. So it's about a girl that meets a guy, and they're dating, and they seem to be perfect for each other, and nothing is what it seems, because this girl is not really who she says she is. So you kind of the story starts developing. She's pretty much doing kind of like an inside job, and I don't know. Just save your time. Don't get this book. It was not good. And it's a hardcover. It's a very pretty book. Very pretty cover, but it just led me to absolutely nothing but confusion, and I didn't care for it. Let's move on with April. And April we read as part of my book club Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly, and this was a book that I thought had a lot of potential, and it really had a lot of potential, but it kind of didn't meet my expectations big time. So it's pretty much a Cinderella retelling in the position of one of the stepsisters, and how both of them, you know, try to do whatever they can to fit into Cinderella's slipper for the prince, because whoever, you know, like the story of Cinderella, whoever can fit the slipper is going to be the new queen or princess. So yeah, it just lacked a lot. I feel like it had a lot of potential to be a great book, and it just didn't get there. It was very unremarkable, and it's just a story of how after what they did, the stepsisters, it comes to light that they were trying to mess with the prince and lie about who they really were, and they become like the people in the town don't like them and they start attacking them. So all of the consequences of what they did are kind of like forcing them to live this very miserable life, because people always, you know, people hate on them after what happened. But it was just at the end, I think they look back to their stepsister for some help to Cinderella, and that's kind of like great finishes. Honestly, I don't remember. It's very blurry, that story. It wasn't very good. I would again not recommend it. Thankfully, we recovered in May. We read, again, for my book club, such a good book, an excellent book with, again, one of those great, very great moral characters, and that is Never by Jessa Hastings. So this book I just randomly saw over in Target while I was shopping one day, and I took a picture and I told my friend, we have to read this, and she's like, why? I picked it up, brought it home just because it was a Jessa Hastings book. So Jessa Hastings is the author behind the Magnolia universe, Magnolia Parks, which I absolutely love. This year I want to finish up the series because I'm only two books in. I have 3 more to go. So yeah, whenever I saw she was the author, and then with this absolutely breathtaking cover, I had to get it. And just like Stepsister, this is another retelling, but this time of Peter Pan. So pretty much the premise of this book is that the girl, what's her name? Oh, Daphne, has been waiting and has grown up with the stories of Peter Pan. Like every single woman in her family has had a visit from Peter Pan. But at the time before they turn like 15 or something, I can't remember. But then I think she's like almost 18 and Peter has not come to visit her. So at this point, she thinks that Peter Pan is just a fake story that the women in her family have been telling for generations, and that he really does not exist. Until one day, there comes Peter through her window to take her back to Never. It's such a good story. This is such a good way of retelling a beautiful story and giving it such a twist, because we have the enemy, which the enemy of course is Hook, but Hook is dead at this point whenever Daphne goes to Never. So it's Hook's son, who is kind of like the archenemigo, how they say, like the enemy of Peter because of his dad. So you kind of like get both the good and the bad, but then you kind of get to know Peter and he's not so great. So I really love this book. I so hope she comes up with a Never 2, if that makes sense, like a second part of this book. I 1000% loved it, especially because both Peter and Hook Jr., I don't remember his name, were not good, either one. And Daphne was probably even worse by staying with either one. It's such, just like Magnolia Parks, is one of those toxic romances, but done very good. I 1000% love this book. I would recommend it to anyone, even if you've never read anything from the Magnolia Universe series. This is such a good one and I would strongly recommend it. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 5-star. Let me double check my Goodreads, but I know I did because I love the book and I want to have another part to Never. And yeah, I gave that a 5-star. And it's very badly rated on Goodreads. It's 3.24 stars. Like, the majority of people don't like that book, but I absolutely loved it. So if you are kind of like similar to my taste in books, you would love that. It was such a good book. I still think about the 3 characters, Daphne, Peter, and Hook. And again, I would love to see a second part of that story. Okay, so then we go into a good one. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4-star, but like a lot of Emily Henry's book, it left me kind of wanting more. And that is Funny Story, again by Emily Henry. Love the cover. I wanted to get the UK cover, so I ordered it from Blackstone. Is that the website, I think? My favorite I've read all of her books except for Happy Place. I probably want to read it this year just so I can read all of her books. Book Lovers was good. My favorite is the story of Alex and Poppy in People with Me on Vacation. But anyway, that was my favorite book of hers. But then we have Funny Story. Funny Story is a very funny story. So this girl is, I don't remember her name, Daphne. Oh my goodness, I forgot about this. We read back to back these two books, and two of the main characters are called Daphne and Peter. That is pretty interesting. So Daphne is the main girl. She's engaged to this guy Peter, but as soon as the book starts, they get separated, and then Peter goes to his ex. So he gets back together to his ex, leaving Daphne in a situation where she has nowhere to live. So because somehow his ex that he went back to also had a fiance, then Daphne and that fiance end up living together. And of course that's how the funny story of how they met start, and how the book develops is of course around the relationship. It's obviously a romance book, so you can imagine what ends up happening. But it was pretty good. Actually, I would probably think this was my second favorite after People with Me on Vacation. It was good. Was it remarkable? No, but it was better, at least for me, than Book Lovers and Beach Read. But yeah, liked it. I think I gave this a 4-star, if I'm not mistaken. I would recommend you read it, you know, if you like those more easy rom-coms. Yeah, I gave this a 4-star. Okay, so that was back in June. July, we wanted to read something a bit more summery, if you will. So for my book club, we went for Bad Summer People by Emma Rosenblum. This was just one of those silly little summer reads. It is not a romance. Well, it has like romantic subplot in the story, but it's about someone it's a mystery. It's a murder mystery pretty much. So it was very interesting. It's about these rich people who live in New York, and then they vacation in Fire Island. So yeah, it's about the summer they spend there, the last summer they spend at Fire Island, and something that happens while everyone is there in that summer getaway. Someone gets killed, and there's a lot of infidelity, there's a lot of lies and backstabbing, and a lot of funny things in the situation of like very rich people having these very silly problems that they bring upon themselves. It was good. Like for an easy, light, hearted summer read, I really liked it. I think I gave this a 3.5 star, which is good in my opinion, but not, of course, great. But for what it was good. I gave it a 4-star, actually, never mind. I gave it a 4-star. Okay, so then we move on. That was July. In August, also in July, I started reading by myself, not with my book club friend, the first book in the tea shop mystery, and that is Dead by Darjeeling by Laura Childs. If you saw some of my videos last year, I spoke about this little series so much. I discovered it, I'm pretty sure, last year by another book that I bought from her, but I wanted to start from the beginning, so I began with the very first book in the series, and that is Dead by Darjeeling. It's a more cozy murder mystery, and I say cozy because it's not a gruesome murder mystery. There is a murder at the beginning of the book, and then you go along with Theodosia, which is the main girl in this book. She is a tea shop owner. She has this very beautiful, quaint little tea shop in Charleston. Yeah, Charleston, and she becomes kind of like a detective, if you will, trying to help solve these mysteries. So this was my first book that I read from her. I'm in the middle of reading a third one, the third one in the series. But yeah, this was the first one. I really liked it. I am looking forward to reading, if not all of the series, because she has like, I don't know, like 30 and counting maybe books. Yeah, probably like 20 or something. The list is very long. And I love the more cozy mysteries that just, you know, they're easy, they're fast, and you have a good time just trying to solve a mystery alongside Theodosia.